So I went ahead and made these class notes and just summarize. We use the input function, we use the display function to display our data. One other thing we can do is introduce the function called fprintf, which is similar to display, but it allows us more control of how we display our data. Okay, so let's just go ahead and um, create a new cell here. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to define a variable a equals 5, and then x equals 1 colon 10. All right, and then I'm going to say y is some computation a star x. Okay, now if we look at this, I'm going to run this. Actually, if I run it, let me go ahead and run it here so you can see the output on the screen. So we have x is these values, y is a factor of that. So we're just amplifying the data. So I'm going to try to format this data in a little better way so that we can create a table. So I'm going to come up with a variable called myTable, and essentially it's just combining x and y, the input and output. So I'm going to say x semicolon y, oops, this would be square bracket, x semicolon y, and if I run this variable here, if I run this table, this is what I get. Essentially it combines x and y into just one matrix. Okay, I don't have to do this, but I'm just going to show you that if I do this, then I can introduce this function that's going to be very useful, which is fprintf. And fprintf allows, it's a formatted display function, if you will. So it allows us to display, we can use string as well as numbers within this function to display potential data, and in particular formatting data tables. I'm going to say 5 times, and now here's the key to this function, %, 3.0f, and I'll explain what this means in a second, is %, 3.0f \n, like this. So everything inside the single quotes is going to be considered normally considered text or string or characters, and then I'm going to point to my variable, my table. Okay, all right, so let me run this guy here and let me show you what's happening here. Okay, this is the fprintf function. So essentially it takes this table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and then its amplification, and it displays it in a vertical fashion so that we can have a more professional report. So it's essentially saying, and this 5 times, this is stuff that I'm typing into my code. This is just actually character. But what it's doing is it's taking the numbers from my table, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's listing them in order here. And then the second row of numbers, in this case, making them to columns 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay, so what's happening here? So fprintf, what it does is, in this case, I have 2 variables in my table, x and y. So it's saying, because I have 2 tables, I have to take this definition. So fprintf, it looks for a %. Whenever it sees a %, it says there's a variable that I'm going to be pointing to that I want to display and I want to format. So you have to use a %, and then the second number here, 3, is saying the number of spaces I'm going to allocate for that variable. In this case, the first % is pointing to this data here. Okay, so it's allocating 3 spaces to here. So this is the 3 spaces it's allocating. Now, and then the 0.0 is telling me that I'm going to allocate 0 decimal points in this case. So there aren't any decimal or significant figures here. And then f is telling me it's going to be a floating point number. So that's how we're formatting these values here. The second % is pointing to the second row of data, and it's formatting in the same exact way. We're allocating 3 spaces, no decimal points, and it's a floating point number. And then the \n is allowing me to go to a new line each time, a new line for each time. Okay, and that's essentially fprintf. So let's go ahead and run this again, and let's just say I forget to put this \n. Okay, and let's see what happens. If I run it this way, it's going to look very sloppy. It's not going to make any sense. Okay, so it essentially puts it all on the same line and really can't really make out what's going on. So this max/n is going to be very crucial, and it's a new line character or carriage return. Okay, so I'm going to go back and run it again. So now it's the table. Now the other thing is I can play around with this 3. Let's say I want to make this 5. And then let's say I want to keep this 3, but I want to have one significant digit, and maybe in this case I want to have it 2 significant digits. Okay, so let's run this again, and so you see how we are formatting our data output. We're formatting our data output. So if I go back here and I run these 2 again, this is our original data, but now I'm saying 1.00, 5.00, and we can, again, I can make this 6 spaces if I wanted to. It gives me more of a gap. And then if you type help fprintf, you'll see there's other formatting you can put. You can put I for integer, E for exponential, and a bunch of other formatting in here. But essentially, this fprintf allows you to format your data, come up with a nice table, as well as when we combine it with display function, we can come up with nice headers. So this is an introduction to fprintf, which is going to be useful in creating tables as we collect data and analyze it.